Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Oman HSE Safety Conference. My name is Mark Breese. I work for Yokogawa RAP, and my background is I've worked for the last 30 years in process engineering and with process equipment, and I'm going to talk to you for about the next 20 minutes or so on savings through safety. If you've got any questions, then please put those into the Q&A box as opposed to the chat box. That way I'll be able to see them more easily, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. So to give you a little bit of background on Yokogawa RAP, we produce control of work software, and today the RAP 4 solution is installed in approximately 30 countries. It's available in 26 languages, and more importantly, every day there are at least 20,000 people who are tapping on the keyboards and using the system. And during the time that we've been in business, which is now well over 25 years, we've issued in excess of 10 million permits. So a lot of experience in the field of control of work and working safely. So we're very proud to be kicking off this conference today. And what I'm going to talk about is really 5 things. We're going to take a look at what safety costs. We'll talk about risk in the modern world. We'll see whether or not we're getting better at working safely. And we'll look at actually some Oman examples at that point as well. And then we'll talk about digital control of work and then close up with the savings that can be generated by getting safety right. Now, safety's been around for a long time, and we've all seen the pictures that you can see on the screen, which are classical examples of the 1920s as an example here, maybe earlier, and unsafe working. And of course, today is much safer. Well, really, it's not. And you can see that by recent examples in the photographs. And when we look at the way that people work in an unsafe manner, we start to look at what does safety cost. And it's a global issue. It's not just related to emerging countries as an example. If I look at the UK HSE, the estimated cost of injuries and ill health from current working conditions in the most recent survey, which was the 1819 survey, the cost was £16.2 billion just in the UK. OSHA in the US, the 2019 report statistics noted fatalities from slips, trips, and falls, the simplest form of accident, increased 11% over the previous year. And in the US, exposure to harmful substances was the highest number ever recorded, 642 fatalities in 2019, which is the last available data. And safety is driven around the world by various international bodies. HSE, OSHA are examples of a couple of those. And they issue fines, penalties, and of course there are time lost from the cost of safety also. I'll take the UK example again. In that 2019-2020 survey, 38.8 million days were lost due to non-fatal injuries. That's people getting hurt and not being able to go to work. The penalties applied for environmental issues, £16.2 billion. And OSHA in the States, for each individual safety violation, it's $13,653 per violation. And if you repeat the violation, they multiply the number by 10. And we're actually in an age of coronavirus at the moment, where we have to look after social distancing and keeping people safe in that manner as well. And in 2020, the USA issued 1.2 million in coronavirus penalties. So a lot of cost associated with not doing things safely. So let's look at risk in the modern world. And we saw some examples earlier, and here are some more examples of people working in an unsafe manner. All of those should make your stomach churn to an extent, because each one of those is dicing with death. And it shows that really humanity is driven more by the doing of things than by how to do it safely. And the way that we try to manage that is by national and international standards. And there are a few interesting ones to point out in amongst all of these. That the key one really is the ISO 45001, which is a new standard replacing 18001. And really there, section 5.2 is important if anybody's not read it, where safety can no longer be delegated to the quality manager or the health and safety manager. It always remains the direct responsibility, the management of any company. And even in ISO 9001, it's that leadership and commitment that is driven, that risk and its management is no longer just the job of the HSE. I've got a note to say, can people see my slides? Can everybody see my slides okay?
No, Mark.
No? Okay, let me try and share them again. Hang on a second here. Right, I will end the slideshow a second. Right. Bear with me here. Hang on. Sorry about this. Right, can you see my slides now? Yes, perfect. Thank you for answering. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what happened then. The slides sort of disappeared. Okay, some of this I will whiz through, which was talking about savings through safety. And where we got to was talking about what does safety cost and risk in the modern world. Now, I talked about then and today being much safer, and of course it's not. And I talked about the cost of safety, which was that it was a global issue and not one related to just emerging economies. So we know the cost of injuries, we know the cost of slips, trips, and falls. And in the USA, we know that, for example, there were 642 fatalities in 2019 just from exposure to harmful substances, as an example. So we know the time costs, we know there are fines, we know there are penalties, and we know that even with coronavirus, we still have charges being applied. So this is where I got to with risk in the modern world, and I think we're just about caught up with where I was with slides. Now, these are some good examples of working unsafely, and each one of those is essentially a near-death experience for the people that are up on those ladders and up on those high places. And humanity really is driven more by the doing than by how to do it safely. And that's driven by national and international standards. And the important one here, which is worth remembering, is this new one, ISO 45001, and section 5.2, if anybody's not read it, which is that safety can no longer be delegated. Even in ISO 9000, it says those who lead the organization must promote risk-based thinking. But in this particular case, it is definitely stated in the 45001 that safety can no longer be delegated. So if I look at Industry 4.0, the new drive is towards Industry 5.0, which is to talk about the interconnected worker. And a quote from the European Commission, really the next step is to place the well-being of the worker at the center of the production process, which is part of what we're going to be discussing through this conference. So a really important statement that we move from Industry 4.0 up to Industry 5.0. And that leads to the question of, are we getting better at working safely? So Let's look at that in a little bit of detail. So the reasons for industrial fatalities are fairly common. A third of it tends to be human error, a third of it tends to be slips, trips, and falls, and a third of it is other things. And the core root cause behind these, 60% of accidents happen due to lack of or inadequate control of work. And a poor understanding of the risks involved is the primary factor involved in that. If we knew that we were doing something unsafe, we maybe wouldn't have done it. If we look at Oman in a little bit of detail, then we know that 34% of all the accidents in Oman, at least as of the 22nd of October 2019, 34% vehicle accidents, 26% slips, trips, and falls, and 27% debris, high falls, moving equipment, and sharp objects. The same kind of split between the three different areas. But when people start working, they all knew about the hazards before they started. Article 87 of Omani law states that you have to state all of the hazards and risks and make sure that everybody's protected before they start work. So we're still getting accidents. And best in class, really, for learning about incidents and accidents is Mr. Musley from PDO. Everything that happens is documented, is put onto the internet, is made available to everybody to look at it, and it really is best in class information, and it's great to be able to see it. But it's a lot of information, and that leads me to think about workload. Now, every day in everybody's work, we have more daily traffic. And more daily traffic, more work, more things happening mean that we end up with more paperwork. And more paperwork leads us to more stress. And more stress, people working harder and not taking the time that they should, leads to more incidents. And really, as we get to that point, we're really talking about a circle of doom, and it affects everybody in every business. And the reason for that is because there are more and more controls being put in place as we discover more risks. But then is more paperwork just stopping the work? And often it doesn't read through to the people doing the work anyway, because they don't get the paperwork, they don't see the paperwork, they don't get the training that others may have got. We're often too busy just to simply keep up. And because we're too busy, it increases our workaround temptation to do things in a faster way. So the question is, do we really learn the lessons from the past? And the answer to that I'm going to give you is a really big one. This is ammonium nitrate, and this is all of the ammonium nitrate explosions since 1921. I picked this as an example because it's pretty much exactly 100 years worth of data. So for 100 years, we know that ammonium nitrate is an incredibly dangerous substance that can go bang if not treated correctly. Well, this is Beirut in August of 2020, another ammonium nitrate explosion. And to answer the question on the Q&A, yes, the recording will be shared afterwards, so you'll be able to look at it again. And when I look at the destruction caused in Beirut, and you look at what the newspaper said, it was somebody else's problem. Someone should have done something about it. Someone should have seen it happening. So why, with all the evidence, 100 years worth of evidence that we can see here, do these things still happen? And really, it's because if we can't find a more intelligent way to manage control of work, we appear to be doomed to risk repeating the sins of the past. And that's true even in Oman. I look at data here, which is a snapshot of safety data that goes from 2013 all the way through the latest data. And in each one of these cases, we still get accidents. Incidents are still happening. So we have to find a way to control it, and by controlling it, generate safety in and of itself and get the savings that come from it. So let's look at digital control of work and what it's about. Well, The key pillars of any plant are the assets of the plant themselves, the plant systems and the technology that drives it, and the people working within it and working safely. And that's the asset performance management triangle in simplest terms. And three core functions make up control of work. And it's really important that you get all three, because we talk about the permit, which is the piece of paper that says what we're doing and how we do the work. There's a risk assessment that goes with it, which is how we look at the risks and make sure that they're addressed safely. And the management of the isolations that are associated with that. And the isolations are making sure that fluid or electrical or other forms of power can't affect the people working in the area. Now, based on that, all three should be equally represented and linked together. Because if they're not, then the information doesn't share correctly and we get unsafe actions taking place. And digital solutions are the easiest way to link these things together so that we get a true control of work solution. And digital systems allow us to move through risk assessment, permit creation, the management of isolations. We can map the areas in which we're doing work. We can create exclusions. We can spot dangerous SIMOPs. And we can make sure that we issue safe permits to the people carrying out the work. So everything then is linked, intuitive to work, in a workflow that is robustly auditable, which is important. It isn't just a set of forms, which is a copy of paperwork. It must always be robustly auditable. And it has to be understandable by everybody, not just the experts. And that's a critical point, because often the experts understand exactly what the risks are, but the people doing the work don't. And that comes down to a mixture of safety, training, learning, and also the methodology by which things are communicated. Within Yokogawa RAP, we use an icon-driven system, so it's really easy to see what is going on in terms of the work that's being done, the tools that are being used, and the conditions under which people are working. And that's driven by experience, our own learning, standards, legislation, best practice, and above all, common sense. And what we're looking to do is to really drive cultural safety gains, because improved safety leads to compliance as a routine, but it also leads to efficient working and our ability to apply that learning back. And by applying the learning back, we can more easily identify work conflicts. We can reduce the application time, the amount of time that we're spent trying to carry out risk assessment, and we can automate things so that everybody knows what's going on in an easier way. And that gives us more time to actually do the work because we get a faster approvals process. And that's really the key to gaining savings through safety. So the way that we look at it is that we generate a system that is easy to understand and easy to use, and that has a common safety vocabulary that's language independent, so everybody everywhere can understand it. And the reason I say that is because we have to do things more intelligently, because that will help us to work more safely and to truly learn the lessons from the past. Because improved safety will lead to higher efficiency and profitability. And not only that, it leads to better performance, less loss, and lower risk. If I take a simple example, and I say, well, if we can get a 10-minute saving in every job we do, and I'll take an example of 5,000 permits in a year, which is in the region of 10 to 20 permits per week, depending on the site working, so fairly normal. And I'll assume a 12-hour shift pattern. If you multiply that out, that's almost 70 man-days of savings just from a tiny 10-minute saving by doing things more efficiently. Forget the savings that we get by not having the accident in the first place, by not having the fines, by not having the environmental penalties. A really simple one is just that 10-minute saving. And the way that we do that is by taking all of the processes that are involved in the systems that we operate and aligning them in the best possible way so that we move through the system in a safe manner. And that leads to some really big savings. Typically 10% savings on turnarounds. An example of one of our clients using the RAP system, they're saving $1.1 million per year. They did an assessment to work out what they were saving based on all of the incidents, accidents, lost time, fines, the whole lot. And really we're looking for a decrease in incidents, and you should be looking for a decrease in incidents of at least 75%. And we see that on a regular basis when these things are employed correctly. And there are some really big numbers at that point. And the reason there are some big numbers at that point is because intelligent safety linked together with people who are empowered, able to, and understanding the work and how to work safely leads to people being able to work smarter and safer. So it's really important that what we look to do is to get everyone involved in safety, and the RAP 4 system is designed to help do that. And that's the end of my slides. Sorry about the bit at the beginning, but hopefully you got the gist of it, and the recording will of course be available so you can listen through it, and of course you can email me or chat to me at any time. But at that point, I think I'll hand over to see if there are any questions at all from the Q&A or any other questions that I've got, and we could go from there. So one question I've got, which is, what is the difference between an incident and an accident? In some ways, that's really just to an extent, semantics. The best way to think about it is that an accident is normally something where a person has been hurt. An incident can be when someone has been hurt, but it can also imply that something has happened that isn't necessarily related to a person. It can be an environmental incident, or it could be an incident at site. So really consider them as being pretty much similar. So any more questions at all? I've got one which has come in, which is asking about what sits behind the RAP system, and because I talked a little bit earlier on about that cortex and making things easy to understand for everybody. And what sits behind the RAP system is that we link all of the risks and hazards associated with creating the permit and creating the risk assessment. All of those hazards are stored behind a series of icons. So rather than have to brainstorm what the risk assessment requirements are, you simply choose an icon that's related to the work that's being done. So if I'm working on a roof, you pick a picture of a house with some arrows pointing at the roof, and that will then immediately ask all of the questions that are related to it. So are there skylights present? As an example, is the roof sloping? And if I take, are there skylights present? Then the risk would be falling through. And then you'll get a list of controls that can be put in place, either tape or barriers or whatever's necessary. So it's helping you to create that robust risk assessment, bearing in mind that 60% of all risk assessments are what causes an accident if they're not done properly. Now, yes, I've got another question. Yes, the RAP system can be implemented in all kinds of industrial fields. It is pretty much work independent because risks are fairly independent of the field in which you're working. A fall from a height is a fall from a height no matter where you're working from. So I've got, how will you make sure the best control measure, since management is looking for a cheaper control measure? Well, I'll point you back to the comment I made earlier on ISO 45001 there, which is that although we look for a low cost safety saving, so we look at creativity over capital every time. The safety has to be appropriate to the work being done. So if there's a risk of me falling into a hole and it's easy to see the hole, then tape may be an appropriate barrier. If it's very difficult for me to see the hole, then that hole may need to be covered over with a steel plate, as an example, which is more expensive, but it means that I'm not going to have an accident. So next question I've got is, what are the main safety initiatives to focus on to prevent major injuries in the construction industry? Well, in the construction industry, the two major risks that you get are moving equipment, so vehicle type accidents and moving things around, and falls or things falling on people. And being aware of those, you can put the right safety in place, the right scaffolding in place, the right methodologies for lifting and moving things, and the right controls for lifting in order to prevent accidents and incidents. That's a great question from Pavana, which is, why do some companies think that near-miss reporting is not good for statistics? Yeah, you have to take all statistics with a pinch of salt when people report what's happening, because I've seen companies where there is a culture of not reporting incidents and accidents, or not, and near miss isn't classed as an incident because something didn't happen. In reality, a near miss is a critical thing to record because it gives you a view of whether or not there is a chance of an accident happening. And if you see the chance of an accident happening, particularly bearing in mind that 30% of all deaths come from slips, trips, and falls. So a near miss could be, I missed falling over that piece of pipework. Well, spotting that and putting a sign in place could stop somebody from being killed later on. And that's a really simple, low-cost fix. So, okay, if an incident occurs, why do the HSE people get sacked? That's a difficult one to answer, but it could be for multiple reasons. It could, of course, be the bad side of things, which is looking for a scapegoat, or it could be that if things are being hidden and aren't being recorded properly, those near misses, and things aren't being done, for example, taking that piece of pipework you could fall over and taping it so it's easy to see and not fall over, then HSE and actually everybody should be involved in safety. So difficult one to answer why people get sacked. Normally you'd think there'll be some kind of negligence behind it. Okay, how does the digital system help to evaluate behavioral safety? Well, the digital system encourages people to behave in a safe way by making it easy to understand the work that's being done. So if, for example, I'll take that working on a roof example and having a skylight present. If I ask people what work they're doing and they click on an icon that says, well, I'm working on a roof, they then have to think of all the risks. If the system says, well, are there any skylights? And you go, well, yes, there are. It says, well, in that case, you need to do something about the skylight because you could fall through it. And you go, okay, yes, I could. And then it will give you a list of choices. Do I want to put a tape barrier up? Do I want a hard barrier? Do I want to cover the skylight? Do I want to make sure people wear harnesses? Do I want to make sure there are crawl boards in place? And the digital system allows you to then see the possible controls, and they're all based on real life controls, and apply them to the job at hand. So you'd use crawl boards if it was maybe a sloping roof. If it was a flat roof, you probably wouldn't bother because there's less chance of falling over. So the digital system is there to give you a help in terms of addressing and assessing the risks. Okay, can we distinguish the incident from a flaw at the place to make safe delivery of a project as a flawless project delivery? You can distinguish an incident from a flaw, but a flaw is normally a result of something being wrong, but it still causes an incident. So if I had a flaw in a tank and the tank split and all the fluid flew out of it and flowed away, then the incident would come from a flaw and we would record it as an incident, but our root cause would be the flaw itself. So when you talk about a flawless project delivery, then you can have flaws that way. But if you get an accident or an incident, then it can't be flawless. So the drive towards metrics often goes against the drive towards safety. If we see something go wrong or something that's dangerous, we have to record it to make sure that people are safe into the future. And two more questions, that'll be the last two, and then I'll hand across. So can this system be embedded with a permit to work system? Absolutely it can. A good permit to work system, a good digital permit to work system holds together the creation of the permit, and it holds the risk assessment and the creation of isolations to make things safe as a triumvirate. There's three things of equal importance. Often the permit, the paper, is seen as the important bit, and everything else is extra work that we're just forced to do. All three are critically important, and it's getting those three right that give you the savings in terms of overall safety. Okay, and the last question again from Pavana. Why do some management members act that when an incident happens, the first question they ask is, where was HSE? I totally agree with you, it's not the right attitude. And the reason it's not the right attitude is because safety is everybody's responsibility, not just HSE to keep a lookout. HSE tend to manage the system and help and encourage the learning and the information for everybody. But the more people that can be involved in safety, and it's one of the reasons why we don't charge for seats in terms of the way that we operate our software, so that everybody can be involved in safety, including contractors, which is where you do get a lot of incidents over and above normal working. By making everybody involved in safety and changing the culture becomes one of, we all want to work safely, as opposed to we're all forced to work safely because the HSE person says that we need to. And that's the attitude change that needs to happen. It is how you change the culture and getting that culture change right that gives you a control of work system for permitting, risk assessment, and isolations that really, truly works. And that then in turn leads to sensible KPIs, to answer Anand's question, that starts to enable us to really prevent mishaps at sites. So I'm going to stop there because I think I've run right to time, and I'm going to hand across to the team for the next part of this, which is the forum and the panel discussion. And I will stay online in case there's any questions. But I will stop sharing and I'll hand across. So Nadira, are you there? Okay, I think you're still on mute, Nadira.
Sorry, it happens all the time. Good morning, everyone. I believe we're moving to our next session now, which is to do with the panelist session. And thank you very much for joining us today. It's our pleasure to take you all through this learning platform. I believe this is supposed to be a take and give kind of a platform for all of us. We always welcome your questions. As stated by Mark earlier, we will be receiving your questions through the Q&A sessions, or the tab at the bottom of your screen in there. Not through the chat. We prefer it to be through the Q&A, so we can capture as many questions as we have and also ensure that we are responding to all of them. So today we have our panelists in here. Team, can you please turn on your cam, please, so we can have a more of a visual interaction with our audience. So I have Mr. Nilesh, we have Mr. Jose, and we have Mr. Surya with us.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Hi. So taking you first through the way that we're going to manage this session is we're going to take you through our topics of concerns, a quick introduction to them. We'll have some set questions of the panelists to answers, and then we are also taking your questions on board. With this, we are in the position to give and take the knowledge of what we want to achieve in here. the event team, can you please have our screen on board of the slides? Thank you. So I'll start with introducing myself first. I'm Nadira Al-Hinai. I'm the General Manager HSE of a Testing Group. And I'll take you through my quick capture of the information that I wanted to share today, which is to do with training or teaching in HSE. Mark had highlighted earlier on the percentage of how many incidents are caused in the world or in the globe. And he also had highlighted that the majority of these incidents are actually human errors. And the human errors, we all know that is linked to the behavior safety, which means it's all to do with the attitude, the thinking, the complacency and the normality of these risks around us, where people will just take it at ease and not really consider about the real risks that are impacted based on their decisions or the behaviors. So the question comes back in here is, what are we doing in our organization? Are we just teaching or are we training HSE? So let me take you through the slide that I have in here. You will see the two boxes of the definition of training and teaching at the left end, which I will take you through the main points in here, that teaching is a more of a theoretical and abstract. It's to impart knowledge and provide information. So in summary, it's just to provide knowledge, instructions, or information. Where training is more of a hands-on passing of information, which it can develop the abilities of people to understand the reality of why they need to learn these items and why the instructions are there for them, and to build up their skills and ability to implement the required instructions, the required implementations of maintaining safe environments within their working environment. All of this information and all of these techniques of having to deliver, it's all performing part of the communication management that you have, which is linked to how you are to pass the information to others, and also the mode of communication and how you can ensure that what you want to pass of information is actually penetrated to the right people with the right capabilities, based on their diverse background, based on their literacy background, their education. As we all know, sometimes we have people who are not really educated enough. So therefore, you will not be able to take them through a teaching element, because teaching is going to be all theoretical. So you'll choose the path for them to be trained so they can understand the hands-on and the practicalities of why you want to pass this information to them and how you can expect their commitment on it. In a similar example that I want to share with you all, we all know that before you are obtaining your driving license, you'll have to go to the authorities who will grant you the authority or the permit for you to start learning. And there is no country in the world that will give you a license without being examined. And to do so, they will ask you to do a practice first on how to drive. And before that, they will take you through the information of what you need to know of the road safety rules, the traffic management, the regulation within the country of what is the safety requirement, the speed limitations, the police or whomever is authorized to manage the road and the traffic. You'll be giving a certain amount of information, but they do not expect you to remember all of this unless if you are on the road to practice it. And hence why you are having driving schools that you have to go through them first, and then you can be assessed by the authority before you're granted the license. So in the same concept, if we really want to improve the element of HSE within any organization, you have to focus on giving them more training over just teaching. The teaching is a good base for many of the individuals, but the training will give more of enhanced understanding of what is expected from them to know and how they are to implement their requirements of HSE for their own safety and others. The third box in here is to do with type of communication. We have two types, the non-verbal and the verbal. And we all know anything that comes with visualizing, it has more of an impact on people's understanding, and it stays in their mind, it stays in their heart, so they can ensure that they are avoiding any of these risks that are taken on board. And to improve all of this of learning, teaching, training, and communication, we need the 7 C's in here, which are at the last part of my slide in here, which is a clear communication, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, as well as courteous. So these all elements will really give a better improvement to teaching and learning and training the HSE for the individuals to contribute to the zero incident culture that we have, or what we are aiming to have in this place. Thank you very much. So I'm moving my slide into Nilesh, who's next in line. Nilesh, over to you.
Good morning, Salaam Alaikum. Thank you, Nadira. I'm Nilesh Sogani. I'm the chair for HSE Oman and also working as a corporate HSE manager for Zawai Powertech. So the today's framework of this panel discussion is around the zero accidents or zero incidents. So when we talk about, we talk about the HSE culture, the organizational, HSE approach. And most of the organization, what it happens is when it comes to HSE, they talk very high on HSE, but when it comes to the implementation, they fail. They fail what they talk and what they do. And the results is the incidents, what happens around. And the impact of the result, next please. The impact of the result is the individuals having personal injuries, individuals are dying on the floor, shop floors, or having their families affected. Next slide, please. So when we see these incidents, it's not only impacting the individual workers or the employees, it also impacting the organization. It impacts the organization in terms of their profitability, their downtime. Next slide, please. The profitability goes down, the company's reputation is on a high stake, and in some cases, if there are the major incidents, even the companies are getting closed down. We see the incidents happen with the BP, Bhopal gas, and so this all comes to us that if we are talking about the business continuity in any organization, we have to bring HSE aligned with our business continuity elements. And for that, what Mark has covered in his presentation or what Nadira was talking about, we need to start investing in HSE. Next, please. So when we talk about investing in HSE, have you seen any organization who is budgeting for the incidents? Whether they are keeping any spare budget that we will have these incidents and we'll spend on that? And this is what becomes that if you don't budget for the incidents, and if any incidents happen in your organization, ultimately it is going to impact on your annual budget. It is impacting on your profitability. Normally, the approach of the management in most of the organization is that HSE is a cost center. If we spend anything on HSE, it means it is an overhead to us. Keeping the HSE professionals in the organization, giving the PPEs, spending on the HSE compliance in the sites or in the projects is an overhead to the company. But in real fact, it is not an overhead. So we have to think in the boardrooms that whether HSE is really a cost center or it is a profit center. Mark presented in his presentation that if any incident happen, what will be the cost? The cost of penalty, the cost of treatment, the cost of you pay to the families, the reputation, the legal fines. These are the huge costs. So if you are able to save a single incident in your organization, it means ultimately you are increasing your profitability. You are increasing your downtime. And this is how I say that investing in HSE is improving your profitability, or it is a profit center for your organization. And how we achieve this? We can achieve this by driving the HSE leadership. The HSE leadership, the management has to come out from the management cap, and they need to take the leader's cap. They need to be real leaders at the site. If that leadership starts real implementation in the organization, you will move forward with a sustainable HSE performance. And when we talk about the sustainable HSE performance, it means your incidents are reduced. You are really targeting on the zero incidents. Your profitability is increasing because your downtime is reduced. Your incident cost is reduced. Your investigation cost is reduced. Your penalties, legal framework, you are in the compliance. And this is how you can achieve the sustainability in your organization. And next is, how you improve HSE culture, how you develop a positive HSE culture, where you have to come with the involvement, inclusion. So the boardroom talk should come down to the shop floors, and the shop floors talk should go to the boardrooms, where you really understand what is the real need for the employees, how they can be safe, how they can work in a better work environment. And if it is ensured, automatically it will influence the culture of your organization. You will have developed a positive HSE culture, and which will help the sustainable HSE performance, and in ultimate, it will help for your business sustainability. So with this, we need to come forward for aligning the HSE in the business continuity, taking HSE as a same element of your business continuity, and not just by talks that HSE is my first priority, and when it really comes to the site, you think about HSE Khalibali. So we need to get away from the Khalibali approach. We need to get into the real HSE culture, the positive HSE culture, and start thinking that HSE is an investment. It is not an overhead to the organization, and align your business continuity. With this, thank you, and I hand over to Joss.
Thank you, Nilesh, for your added value contribution to the information. Jose, you're next online, please.
Good morning, and thank you for this invitation. Good morning to everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I'm the Senior Occupational Health Advisor and Human Factors Engineering Technical Authority of PDO. As you will know, PDO is the main crude oil producer of the Sultanate, and mainly all the gas supply of the country is provided by us. That means risk, and if we talk about risk, that means that we have to engage efficiently, responsible, and safely in the exploration, production, development, storage, and transportation of hydrocarbons. And that means, as I told you, risk. And to control the risk, we have to have an occupational health, safety, and of course, an environment management system, well implemented, well embedded, and to have a part of the culture of the company in terms of the responsibilities regarding the preserving and the well-being of our workers. However, not the problem only in PDO, in any company is that sometimes we describe our organizations in reassuring terms. That means, oh, this company is stable, is secure, is knowledgeable, is predictable. And that is the first point when we start to fail. Because companies face numerous unpredictable challenges. And of course, that strained our imagination and our creativity, as the example that Mark put in the beginning. How that can happen is the first question. And of course, it can happen. Can happen because you don't learn as part of either of the Mark's explanation. Because the first thing that companies have sometimes is to have a complacent view. And if you have a complacent view, that means danger. So we are under a scenario of unpredictable things. And when unpredictable things happen, then we become paralyzed. We become sometimes reactive to understand what happened and why the experience happened. However, organizations have to think in health and safety in a way to enhance and track down, to eliminate that label that it was so terrible in terms to always say that it's human error. Human error is not the main cause. It's part of the cause, however, it's not the main cause. And if we still maintain a criteria of control human error, that system will fail. So how to better manage the unpredictable. What can we do? And the best thing to do is to act as a high reliability organization. What means that is to feel that we are constantly under trying conditions. That means that we don't have to be in an easy way, have to be in ease. And we have to have an infrastructure that continuously put this emphasis, as you can see in the wheel. Track always the small failures, persist over centralizations, remain sensitivity to operations. One of the most important things is to maintain capability to recovery. We can't fail after the disaster. We have to be resilient, to recover in order to taking advantage from the learning process, then, and with the expertise and the knowledge of the experience, then we can really increase the controls that we need in order to really have a well-embedded management system. So how can we really safeguard and provide health to our personnel? It's formulating things that really means that you can successfully provide that. And that means, according to, you can see in the wheel, the first point is the leadership. You have to demonstrate leadership and commitment from the leaders since the beginning. Roll the ball, walk the talk, as mentioned before, is an important part of the system. Not only to assess, to identify the risk, then check and then recovery. That is an important part of the health effects management process. Worker have to be engaged. Worker have to is the first impacted social being that is related with the risk, and have to have a well-known description of the job, as mentioned either by Nadira. The training is fundamental. It's absolutely different from notification or information that we used to have in the companies. Have to be much more internalized. The people have to really understand the situation in order to really control a point. So with that in mind, there are a lot, myriad of benefits to integrate an occupational health and safety management system into the business, because like in examples, or the OSAS 18001 or the ISO, the new one, the ISO 45001, are management system that aims to reduce the health and safety impact that is produced by the hostile environment or the risky environment that we can have in the workplace. And this aims to protect people is the main factor that we have to do, and can be either implemented in all the processes and all the plannings in all the factories and all the companies. The use of these management systems like ISO 45001 is set to drastically reduce the impacts of that potential events that can cause harm to people, that can produce injuries to people. So with emphasis in the management and commitment, knowing how to do in order to assess the risk and to really remediate a situation, that is the master principle that we have to have now, not just to determine the risk, it's just to really control it and implement the necessary means in order to avoid, ameliorate, or reduce the impact of these events. So the implementation like the ISO 45001 is fundamental in order to obtain efficiency, to improve staff productivity, in order to really succeed as a business, and to really reevaluate the current situation and implement that for the not only the improvement, for the well-being of our workers and the protection of our workers, and either to be a model for the society as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose, for the insightful information and proving our first statement that zero incident has to come with so many different factors to be played with. and you have already stated that as well within your session. Next, we're moving to Surya. So Surya, please, can you unmute yourself in there? Thank you.
Yes. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for your time today. So I'd like to talk through how we implement safety culture by implementing the control of work in industrial plants. Okay. As Mark was telling you this morning, so the lot of fatalities happen in the industrial facility, and most of these fatalities happen more than 75%. It's all related to human errors, and which can be prevented. Okay. So if we have a good control of work system, and we put it in an evergreen environment, wherein we make the system to capture the incidents and capture whatever the gaps that people are facing in the plant and the site. So all those details are getting captured in the system, and it must become a part of a knowledge base. Okay. So once the knowledge base is there, it becomes part of your hazard list. Okay. And once if you go to the site, if you're able to see all the hazards, when it comes to a paper-based system, okay, it will be very difficult for you to see all the hazards. Okay. You'll be able to see only the prominent ones. Okay. But the prominent ones are most of the time it is hidden. Okay, because the prominent one which it has happened in the past, but it's not always necessary that only the accidents happen for the same cars. So it can be different cars, and it happens in a different timelines. So you need to capture all the risk associated with any job that you are supposed to do in the site. And based on that, you make informed decisions. Okay, this is my site conditions today. Okay, and this is my operating context. This is the status of the equipment. Okay, all these things are coming into one single container. So the first and foremost thing is that bring all the information into one container. Okay, and then you learn from it. Okay. And apply your company's process, procedures, and standards. Okay, and then put it in a environment where it requires the competency to do certain jobs. Okay, so competency is very important, which ensures the people have the right skills and knowledge to do the job. Okay, that is ensured by means of continuous training, and also by testing the people knowledge. Okay, so each and every training comes with a assessment of what is the level of knowledge they are acquired by this training. So likewise, you capture all those knowledge, and also train them and do the auditing also to make sure how effective the system is working. So once you put it in a very evergreen environment, so the process will get matured every day and day. So you build a very good massive database of the knowledge from your operations, which is very specific to your plant and equipment and operating context. And if you see the cause of the accidents, can you move to the next slide, please? Yes. So as Mark was telling, today, there's a lot of accidents happening in the plant, and which are preventable. Most of these are preventable. And the safety is the topmost, the top management priority. Okay, it's as our gentleman was telling, so it is not something which can be delegated to a maintenance manager or a safety manager, and whenever something's happened, they just go find a scapegoat to blame them. So it is not like this. So it has to be leadership's commitment to make sure everybody is aware of the risk associated with the operations and with the site conditions. And each and every employee should be aware of those things. And you should also be aware of what all the controls need to be in place to make sure people are doing a safe and secure job. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. So as you see, the permit to work, risk assessment, isolation management is all a process of the control of work process. Yeah. So you cannot remove one. If you remove one, okay, you will not control the work efficiently. Okay, so you need to know what I am going to do from the side. What are my operating contacts? What is the status of my equipment? Okay, whether the equipment is running or is isolated, or it is purged, and it is flushed with inert gas. Okay, or is there any toxic gas present in that environment, or if it is a confined space, okay, where there is residual gases present inside, what's the level of oxygen inside that confined space entry. So all this information need to be available in front. Okay, so once you get the information available, then you take the risk assessment based on your processes and procedures, and you make the controls. Okay. And based on that, you will be able to do the job very safely. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when you see the challenges in the plan, okay, so there is a lot of operational challenges. Okay. So challenges different from operational challenges and control of work challenges. When it comes to operational challenges, people need to know what is the status of the equipment. Okay. And what is the resources that I would require for doing a particular job from the site, and have these people be trained, okay, given proper knowledge of the conditions and policies of the company. Okay, when it comes to world-class companies, okay, in one of the companies I visited, I saw a display of company's policy, which states, you must know company's policy and you should follow it. Okay, and if you're not following it, you're not you cannot continue in this company. So this very simple and blunt statement is there, which is very strong. Okay. And also, when it comes to procedure and policy, and certain companies make it policy, like each and every one in the company has to come from the bus of the company. Okay, so people should not come from their with their own vehicle. Okay, they should not drive, because the plant is located, away from the city. Okay, and this is every day, every time people need to travel at least 1.5 hours a day to reach the plant. So it doesn't make sense to each and everyone. So if there are 750 people working in the company, and all the 700 people taking their own cars and driving 1.5 hours up and down, and it's almost 3 hours every day, so wasting the time. So in order to make the people more efficient, the company makes a policy that people must follow the procedure, and everyone, including the general manager of the company, must use the bus to come to the company. So this one example I'm telling you how people are making the policy and procedures of the company to be followed by all levels of the organization. Okay, and people should have a holistic view of the operation. Okay, what am I going to do? What are my site conditions? Okay, what are the tools I'm going to use? Okay, and what I'm going to do? Okay, all this information should be available in front of you. And also you should be able to put that into evergreen environment, so that you will learn from your mistakes. Okay, though if you say people having a lot of experience, okay, I won't say it's experience is knowledge. Okay, experience comes from mistakes. Okay, so people make mistakes and they learn from it. Okay, that makes experience. Okay. So we have to learn from the experience, from the mistakes what we are making, and experience counts when the mistakes are not repeated. Okay, if you keep on repeating mistakes, it doesn't mean you have experience. Yeah. So likewise, you need to have access to the real-time information. That is another operational challenges, and also we need tools to connect these together. We need to have tools to connect the data, connect the equipment, connect the your asset in, and connect with the people who are going to interact with the assets. Okay, all these things when connected, then it will have a very good impact to control your risk. Okay, and also you can view all the hazards, okay, related to any work that you are supposed to do from the site. And another good example for the lack of control of work is like, access to the location. Okay, you need to monitor people where he is going and whether he is at the right place doing the right job, or maybe you also have to validate the right equipment in front of you. Maybe you're not isolating the wrong equipment, or you're not de-isolating the wrong equipment. Okay, you should know maybe you're in the right equipment, but the equipment may not be in the right status. Okay, maybe the safety wall has been removed. Okay, so you cannot load this equipment anymore. So you need to have this 360-degree view of what has happened with this equipment in the last shift. Okay. So all those shift handover information has to come into the system so that you know the correct status of the equipment. Okay, and also you need to have the people with the right skills and competencies. Okay, and also you need to have a facility to link the related works together. Okay, and the first and foremost thing is the conflict management. Okay. So there are conflict with related to multiple permits in the same location, and you need to link one permit to the another permit to make sure all the risks are taken care. Okay, and you also have to have a facility to link all the associated certificates. Okay, like what are the certificates you are having, and if there's excavation certificate, if there is confined space entry certificates, all these things, you need to have a facility to link together. Okay, and each and every job that you are going to do from the site, which will make you more efficient once you link all the information that is related to the permit. Okay. So that will be very easy. Other than that, if you are looking for certain paperwork to be attached, okay, into the papers after paper, and you have a tendency to either bypass the system, or maybe you will be having more papers, and no, you may not be able to comply with all the standards required. And because of that, it will be very easy for you to plan efficiently. Okay, so if you have all the information in front of you, we have all the conditions and the resource required, so you can plan efficiently. Okay, and by the means, you can increase your planning efficiency also. So by which you can avoid situation like you planned a work for say 2 hours, and you take the whole day to do the work. So maybe you just spend maybe 1 hour to do the actual work, but maybe you spend more time waiting for the authorization. You spend more time for looking for tools, looking for information and documents. So all those things are associated with that waste of time, which makes your team inefficient. Okay. So you need to have all this information in front of you to make you the informed decision. And make your planning more effective. Next slide, please.
Sorry, just to inform you that we are supposed to start now our discussion. So can we please get into the wrap up of this part, please?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry, that was the end of the slide. So thank you very much for introducing the digitalization and the value that we can gain out of having to use the digitalized systems in managing our HSE and the elements that comes with that. So just to remind everyone that this panel discussion is all about the objective of how we can get into zero incidents and the importance of the zero incidents in our workplace, especially that recently we have seen a major change in the way that HSE has been taken. And the good positive news out of that we are seeing more people and more organizations wanting to actually adopt HSE as a priority, and they're adding it within their vision, the mission of the companies, the organization, the activities that they have. And within the panel today, we have Nilesh, who is from the IOSH, as we all know, the Occupation Safety Health Institute. We have Jose, he's the industrial hygienist from PDO. We have Surya, who's also managing the business development from the software company. So all of these different elements of individuals that we have today, they're all talking about the same message, we can contribute to introduce a better formation of how we can manage SSC in our working environment, and how can we interlink all of these services. So we already know that there are systems in place, like the ISO 45000. We already know that there are digitalized systems also in place. Different tools, different management systems can be utilized. I have spoken about the different approach of how you can actually pass on the information to the individuals to emphasize and improve the development of communication and understanding what is required from them. We have the institute like IOSH that are providing different methodologies of different trainings for them to emphasize in all of what we have discussed in here. So we are taking the opportunity in here now for us to go through the questions that have been addressed to the panelists. And then we are moving towards the Q&As that have been shared by our attendees. So starting off with the first question, what do we mean by integrating HSC with business continuity? And how does this drive sustainable and positive development of positive culture? So we'll start off with Nilesh in the right order, and then we move into Jose and then Surya. So we have about a second for each question to be answered by the individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadira. I'll take this question forward. When we talk about, in general, about the business continuity, normally the approach is to talk about the operational risk, to talk about the financial risk, to talk about the strategic risk. And we normally forget about the HSE risk in the business. And as I told during my talk previously, and what we have seen from the Mark presentation as well, whenever any incidents happen, it really impacts the business. It impacts the business with a huge cost, with the reputation. So we need to come out from just a normal business continuity plan. We need to get into the HSE aligned business continuity programs, where when we talk about the operational risk, we are not just talking about the bid process, the information transfer, the accounting process. We are not just talking about the financial risk, because to me, if any incident happens, it will have impact on your financial risk. It will have impact on your operational risk. It will have impact on your reputation. So when we talk about the business continuity, we need to align HSE as a part of that, and we have to equally analyze the HSE risk of the business and then account it for the better business continuity plan.
Thank you, Nilesh. Jose?
Well, regarding the occupational health and safety management system, beside the improvements of individual and organizational health and safety, the prevention of risk and the hazards, the occupational focus and the deals with risk and opportunities to grow, the benefits for implementation and management system at least have 5 more benefits beside these direct improvements that we approach when we establish the management system. If you have a management system well implemented, the organization will be positioned in a very, very good situation in terms to be a role model, a leader. That means that you can really be in the elite of the companies regarding your level of excellence and regarding your opportunities for growth and to demonstrate that you are in compliance with the law, either The second benefit is to increase the trust. The workforce will really be much more well positioned in terms to the confident with the work, because it is known that there is a system working for that. And socially talking is amazing to really be accountable, that you demonstrate that you are accountable for the staff. Another situation or benefit that can be included for the management system is that you can create an organization that is built around best practice. That means that if you have a set of standards that are up to date, like for example 45001, means that the organization is efficient. It's much more efficient because it's based in consistent standards. You can really reduce the insurance premiums, and of course you are protecting your employees, reducing either the level of incidents that can happen, and of course the return of investment, the ROI, is really important, because that means you increase your productivity. People is working better because the injuries are reduced, the illnesses are reduced, and the harmful is controlled, and the risk mitigated. So you improve significantly. That is one of the best benefits for that.
Thank you, Jose. Mr. Surya, do you want to add more to that?
Sorry, I lost the question. Can you please explain what is the question?
Yeah, it's how are we to take the integration between HSE and business continuity, and how does that drive the sustainable positive culture in any organization?
Yeah, that is very, very important, because it is all driven by the risk attitude of the company. Okay, so first they need to understand what are the stakeholder requirements. Okay, so who are my stakeholder? What are the requirements? How am I going to satisfy them? Okay, so that is the first and foremost step they have to make. Okay, once they understand that, and who are the other people who are going to be affected by my operations and related risk to that operation, maybe the people around the plant, or maybe the people who are operating the plant. And also, how am I going to mitigate those risks? Okay, if it happens. Okay, so you need to understand. Okay, what I'm going to do to prevent those risks from happening. Okay, and if that risk is being exposed. Okay, how am I going to mitigate those risks? Okay, so these are the two things which is very important for you to take informed decisions, and also take some appropriate actions at the appropriate time to ensure the safety and HSE is also taken into consideration. And by that means you are making sure that the business continuity is also ensured. Okay, so it's not only the financial continuity. Okay, you need to understand the balance between what is my capability. Okay, so maybe maybe you have a capability to make a Corolla. Okay, but the end user requirement may be to deliver BMW. Okay, so you might want to make a BMW. Okay, but but you don't have the capability to do that. You don't have the technology, you don't have the people, you don't have the right tools and equipment. Okay, you cannot dream for that. Okay, first you need to understand what is your capability, and based on that you need to understand what are my stakeholder expectation. Okay, the stakeholder expectation, I need to have a balance between that. Okay, once you balance those together, then you need to have a proper business case to meet those expectations. Okay, so you cannot have a business case which is prepared for a Corolla, and you want to deliver a BMW. That's not possible. Okay, so you need to have that balance between what am I going to deliver, okay, and what is my capability, and what are my risks. Okay, and in this process you need to always balance the cost, performance, and risk. Okay, in all those through the entire asset life cycle. It's not that I am pretty much focused on the cost during the project stage. Okay, so if you are focusing only on the cost during the project stage, in the capital project stage, then definitely the reliability of the plant through the life cycle maybe it is compromised. Okay, because you need to have the right technology, right equipment, right people to manage it, and right process to ensure that whatever you get, it is designed for the entire life cycle. Okay,
that's
so
right. So you've got the full elements of the people, the management, the tools that can be integrated together to improve the integrations of the HSE with the business continuity. Thank you very much, Surya. So we are moving to the next question in here, which it is similar to what we have in the panelists as well as one of the audience. So I'll just use the question from the audience instead. How do we consider zero incident culture? Can we please show them or give them an insight as an example of why all accidents are incidents, but not all incidents are accidents? So the contribution of the definition of these two terminology of accidents and incidents, and how can we consider all accidents to be incidents, but not all incidents are accidents, in improving or considering the zero incident culture. So we move back to Mr. Jose first on the answer, please. Again, we have 1 second for every answer, so we can accommodate as many questions as we can. 1 second, please, gentlemen. Thank you.
You mean regarding this question, what all the incidents are not accidents are not accidents are incidents? That question?
Yeah, so the question is coming, how are we contributing to the zero culture, the zero incident culture? And how does that reflect with all incidents are all accidents are incidents and not all incidents are accidents?
Of course, according to the bow tie principles, it's clear not all the accidents comes because of an incident. It's because the controls fails. It's because the cheese hole principle. When you align all the factors in order to have a consequence, and this consequence can be stop the cascade, then comes an accident. It's always the beginning of with an incident of events, a sequence of events to have an accident. That is natural. It is the natural thing. It's not spontaneous. Is coming aligned a series of factors to occur the event. As I told you before, we have to analyze why systems fails, why human error happens, and that is a sequence of events, and that is the principle of the, as I told you, bow tie analysis. So you have threats, then you have barriers, and if the barriers fails, then you have an accident, or you can mitigate the accident with for example, the first aid or the firefighting, in order to avoid that the incident that is have a consequence increase to have a much more dramatic consequence. If you have a system in place, if you have your management system in place, no matter what happens, if the barriers fails, you have later recovery measures in order to stop the cascading. The management system is for that. You will not avoid errors, neither incidents. You shall reduce the incidents trends and the consequence of these incidents. That's the reason from the beginning in the questions. It's not to be bad in terms of statistics to have near misses. If you count that means that you are tracking the small failures. That is the starting point to avoid the uncertain. Clearly.
Thank you very much, Jose, for the contribution on that. Nilesh, in the same line, I'll give you the question that we have for the panelists in here, which is again in the same topic. Zero accident is the common goal that is adopted by many organizations. Then why you think that we have to go beyond zero accidents? And is this achievable to build beyond zero culture in any organization, or is it within certain specific organization? It can never happen at all.
Thank you, Nadira, for bringing this great question. When we talk about zero accident, and my personal thinking is, when we talk about the HSE excellence, we need to go beyond the goal zero. So when we talk about the goal zero, it means zero accidents. But in real term, if you talk about zero accidents, whether by having no accidents, are you making the workplace safe? So the absence of accident is a mean to say that the place is safe to work? No. There can be no accidents because of so many reasons. There may be reasons that there is underreporting, there is ignorance, the risk perception, the risk normalization. The people think what is the near miss happening around because nothing has happened, so they ignore it. So zero accidents or zero incident culture, to me, we need to go beyond that. And that is the reason I say that we have to think about the beyond zero accidents. And that is possible. If your organization culture is, striving for, HSE culture, it means if anything happening in your organization is really taken to the, root cause analysis, looked into the failures, learn from that failures, then definitely you can go beyond the zero incident culture. And why I'm talking about the zero incident culture, beyond zero incident culture is that we need to ensure that people are safe, they are healthy, the way they come to work to your place, the same way or even more healthier way they should go back to their home. We need to go beyond, move away from the zero culture, because when we talk about the zero culture, we talk about the statistics, we talk about the reactive KPIs, we talk about the, sometimes hiding the incidents because we want to show good on the, statistics board. So when we move away from the zero culture, think about the beyond zero, we are talking about the proactive indicators. We are talking about the proactive actions. We are talking about the actions taken in the boardroom, in the shop floor level, how we make people happy, safe, and healthy. So to me,
yes, but is it possible, sorry to interrupt you, Nilesh, but is it possible that the zero accident or beyond zero can be implemented across all types of organizations? Or can we just achieve it within certain industries?
Just before answer to your question, I have a question to all, that what is your thought about incidents, whether incidents are preventable or not? If we have a strong feeling that all incidents are preventable, it means beyond zero culture is possible. Only the thing is, we need to drive the positive HSE culture in the organization. The boardroom and the shop floor level, they should be aligned in talking, in realizing the HSE on the shop floor level. Incidents happens, it will happen. Right. But if it happens, have you looked into the root cause failure? The root cause, the failure analysis, have you learned from that? If you have a repetitive of incidents happening with no control measures, no improvement, it means there is a problem. There is a problem in the culture. And if you are able to attack on that culture, if you are able to bring the positive HSE culture rather than the culture driving to the productivity, driving on the cost, driving on the other business priorities, you cannot achieve the beyond zero culture. But if you align all, it is possible.
Which is where it's taking me back to the point that I have emphasized at the early stage. To even achieve that, you are actually needing to deliver the right information to the individuals. You cannot just give them information on theoretical. You cannot just ask the person to learn how to drive by just reading through books. You need to teach them how to drive. You need to teach them how to utilize the tools within the car, the steering wheels, the brakes, everything. And this is where it makes a difference when you are in an organization. When you teach HSE, you have to make sure they actually train them. You take them into the training room, telling them how to do exactly, how to do the excavation safely, how to instruct whatever required to be instructed, being a road and infrastructure project, being a building, you're in oil and gas, wherever you are, you have to actually take them step by step of how they need to implement in a safer manner. And I'll give an example of what we're doing at Tasneem, and which is something that we're always proud of. We have a training room or a training area called Hazard Hunt Room. So this Hazard Hunt Room takes the personnel through exactly the steps of what they need to understand of their work activities, with an element of taking consideration of risk assessment, with an element of taking consideration of how they can manage to comply with the work requirements in a safer manner for themselves and others. And we had received an award on that last year within the construction week of how we have managed to implement this across the group of the Tasneem. being in any oil and gas sector, civil, or anything else. And that was a different way of having to translate the HSE culture in the company from what it was to what it is at the moment. And we are so proud of that. So in the same line of zero incidents approach, coming back to Syria, can digitalizing HSE management system contribute to zero incidents?
Definitely. So that's, as I said before, you need to bring all the information together. Okay. So that is the key. Okay. Once you bring all the information together, then you need to superimpose that with your company policies and procedures and standards. Okay. And with that, you need to, be very watchful. Okay. If anything is going wrong, you need to identify that hazards. Okay. And okay, there's a new hazard that has come. Okay. And those kind of things are getting captured in the system, and that becomes a part of the knowledge base. Okay. And it becomes one more hazard in that particular work. Okay. So the moment you list out all the hazards, and you have to take informed decision of that. Okay. So you make the proper risk assessment. Okay. And without any risk assessment, you should not be doing anything. Okay. Any work or anything. Okay. Risk assessment is the first and foremost thing. Okay. Once you make proper risk assessment of all the hazards. Okay. And then and that is your goal. Okay. But zero accidents and incidents is your goal. Okay. For that, you need to first accept what you are now. Okay. And you need to know what are the gaps, and you need to have all the management support to fill those gaps. Okay. So management should not force only you should have zero accident, but management, top management should also support financially, and also encourage people to do the training. Okay. And upgrade the knowledge to reach the stage.
Thank you very much, Surya, for your good answers in there. So we are all agreeing on the element that zero incidents can be achievable as long as we have the communication, the tools, and we also have that kind of leadership understanding that zero incident is achieved, but it cannot be compromised with something else as being productive and the production of the requirement on productions and the rest.
Yeah, okay. And we are also talking about the people and their culture. Okay, there is also related to the process incidents. Okay, the people who are operating their equipment, they need to operate sensibly. Okay. Suppose if there is a driver, okay, we are concerned about the traffic safety and so on. Okay, and what about is driving the vehicle properly, or changing the oil, now and then, and checking the brakes. Okay, all those things are all part of HSE. Okay, so we need to and for the industrial plant, they should operate the plant within the safe limit, and there is an operating envelope for each and every plant to operate it safely. Okay, because today the metal price or the oil price is more, it doesn't mean that you can exceed the operating capacity by 20%. Okay, so which means you're straining your assets, which will induce a lot of process assets. Apart from the people who are doing that is also control of work related, but process hazards should also be avoided by sensibly or operating the plant.
Well, I would say it's not really 100% avoided, but it's a matter of how to prioritize the elements of what you need to achieve as an overall objectives for your organization, which is typical is ensuring the safety of the people. As Nilesh mentioned earlier, you're expecting people to come in a healthy manner to your workplace and to leave the workplace in a healthy manner, as in one piece. You don't want them to lose any part of their body. You don't want them to lose their life at all. So by introducing all of these modes of different solutions, it will ensure always that our people are in safer manner, and we can also improve their behavior elements and also the safety culture across the board. So we have
just in addition to
sorry, Nilesh.
Yeah, just in addition to what you told now,
yes,
we need to have a strong feeling that I will see it when I believe it, the power of vision. So if we start believing that, yeah, goal zero is possible, beyond zero is possible, we will start striving towards that. But if we feel that no, incidents will happen, It means there is acceptability, and there it starts the risk normalization, the acceptance. So we need to have strong feeling. If we really want people to be safe, we need to have that if I believe it, I will get it. Thank you, Nadia.
That's true. That's true. So we have only about 5 minutes left of our session, and we have so many questions that have come from the audience. So I'm gonna pick the most critical ones that we can answer immediately in the coming 5 minutes. And we apologize for the individuals that we might not be in a position to answer them. And hopefully within the time, if possible, at the end of the day, we can get back to you with the answers. Thank you very much for contributing though. So in the same line of the zero incident, I have a question in here that states how much a cost of a single LTI in Oman? Do we even have a reference to that? So coming back to Jose on this question. How much does an LTI cost in Oman? Jose, you're on mute.
Yes,
okay.
I am. The cost of what? I mean,
the cost of a single LTI. Can we even?
I don't know.
Can we even quantify a cost for an LTI?
No, I never quantify the cost of life, neither injuries. I have no cost. Sorry for that.
Okay, Nilesh. You're on mute, Nilesh. Sorry. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, it depends on what type of LTI it is. If it is a minor LTI, or if it is a fatality, it all depends. But as per the OSHA estimation, the cost of LTI is somewhere $28,000. I'm talking about the non-fatal LTIs, and the in general average is $7,500. But again, there is no statistics or data available locally for Oman. But any LTI, whatever severity it is, it costs a lot. It costs a lot in terms of medical expenses, downtime, employee motivation, the reputation of organization, the delay in the projects. So it costs more than what we are talking about.
It's impossible to put a value for that. I have no sense. You have
it depends on.
No, that is no way to put a cost for life or injuries or illnesses.
Okay, Surya, can you share your thoughts in half a second so we can finalize this question, please?
Yeah, as Mr. Jose explained, we cannot quantify it because on an average you can just tell for a country, but you cannot say exactly this much amount, because in a construction industry it may be different, in oil and gas it will be different, in a aluminum plant or steel plant it will be different. It depends on place to places, okay, or maybe if it is in a hospital it may be different, okay. So it depends upon the location, depends upon the type of operation, and also depends upon the severity of the incident itself. So if it is a project, again, it's going to cost the project. If it is an operation, it's going to cost the cost of loss of opportunity cost, everything put together, penalties and so on. It depends on how much to what extent we are violating the laws. Okay, it depends on case-to-case basis. So the same LTI may be costing say $50,000 in one place. It may be $500. $1,000 somewhere else. So it depends. We cannot quantify it.
That's very true, and I will agree that it's not easy to quantify. However, in some countries they have a guidelines in reference to whatever the nature of different incidents that are taking place in different countries, based on their statistics that they have. But in reality, we can never put a number against anyone's life. We can never put a number against anyone's a situation of losing a part of their body. It's never a possibility at all. You will never know what are the impacts of the result of that LTI, because it does not only go on a person on an element of losing a person or a part of the body, but it has a further impacts that comes with the individuals. The individuals could be the main provider of their family, so there is an impact on the family. There could be the very distinguished type of personnel within their organization. So organization will lose a good member of the team member. And there is no replacement to everyone in here, despite the fact that we might be all good in all of that. However, we can never be in a position to put any person in a quantity to state, yeah, this is the value of you and this is the value of you. So if we lose you, by all means, we know how much we're gonna pay you. Whatever we receive of compensation can never, ever, ever really provide you with the right value of yourself and what had happened to you, because it has also another element of your mental status in here. So all of this can never be quantified.
Yeah, and differs for the contractor. If it is hired employee, it differs. Okay, it depends on the situation. So it's not same for everyone.
Definitely depends on the situation, but we can say that we might be facing a car incident that someone would have been run over in here in Oman, and the compensation that comes to them will never be the same as when it comes to UAE or in India or in UK. It's different when it comes to a financial compensation, but reality, the value of the compensation is never there. We can never quantify it. It's unlimited.
Yeah, I was told in Netherlands the compensation is related to proportional to their income. Okay, if you make a mistake, you pay the penalties proportionate to your income. So if you're making millions, your fines will be like $500,000, something like that. So if you are yeah.
Definitely. So with this, again, our apologies that our time has been so limited and it has been a fruitful kind of discussion. To be honest, personally, I wish if we had a longer time for us to go through this, but we appreciate that we have also our colleagues that they would like to share their information and knowledge throughout the event of today and tomorrow, and we need to give them a chance as well to come on board. So with this, we will be ending our session on zero accidents as a panel session. And we thank you all. For the people
let me add one more point, Najira, if you allow me.
Yes.
Yeah, so to focus on zero accidents, okay, and incidents, I would like to know everyone to focus on the unsafe condition and unsafe act. Okay, if you focus on these two things, okay, these are all potential accidents or incidents in the future. So focus on unsafe acts and unsafe conditions and reduce it to a safe operating level, so that it can definitely help you to reduce incidents and accidents.
Indeed, and it all goes back again to the same point of communication. If you don't have a clear communication, a transparent communication with the right information that suits every individual, being educational or not, with the right example, showing them how to do it, then you will not reach to that zero accident at all. And you will not even have less numbers of LTIs, because you will be facing and bombarded with all these incidents and accidents. So the cost of the organization will be high in paying the amounts, and they will be high also of losing people's life. And again, we go back, there is no value to any of that as for real, as limitations to that. There is a big value, but there is no limitation to that value. So again, thank you very much everyone for your questions. We'll try to respond to you by typing them up, typing the answers rather than having to share them in here, because our time is already finished. And just to remind you that the next session on environmental footprint will start at 12:30. So please do not miss this session. It's also another valuable session for you to take it up and to learn more about what you need to do and how you need to understand and emphasize on saving the environment, and also ensuring that your footprints are minimized as much as you can without impacting on the environment. Thank you very much again, and thank you to the panelists that we have on board. One last second for real from my team members in here. Can you please share your last comments before we are ending up? But for real, it's only 1 second. We don't have more time as the moderators in here. So starting with Nilesh again in the same order. Thank you.
Yeah, as the topic of today is, zero incident culture, and I believe strongly beyond the zero. So I really enjoyed the discussion, and there are very good questions still pending on the panel. But definitely, if you have a strong feeling that you can achieve it, if you believe in that, you can achieve it. So we have to go away from risk normalization, accepting the incidents, look into the underlying causes, learn from the incidents, whether the incidents from other industry or within your own organization. If you start learning from the incident, the day will come that the goal 0 or beyond 0 is possible. So keep learning, and whatever you learn, implement it. Just don't keep it in the shelf as a alerts, implement on the shop floor level. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh, for that. Jose? You're on mute again.
Mr. Joshi, you're on mute.
You're not unmuted yet. Okay, great.
Sorry.
Now you're back.
Deeply sorry for that, for annoying you and disturbing you. Well,
No.
the clue always is to act at the earliest moment, and we should have the means to act at the earliest moment. Do not simplify, always to work in the trying conditions, to not easy the things, I mean, to have really properly systems that works, implemented based, as Nilesh mentioned, with a strong culture. And to have a strong culture is not only to have a management system, is to have people involved that really believe in that is really trained, that the principles, concepts are internalized. They understand the meanings of the risk and why you have to control and why they are part of that. It's not only the leadership that have to be the commitment, of course it is. They have to put the bar very high in terms of the commitment and the resources that they have to provide in order to have the proper system in place. Training system is all around culture, and the culture is not just a system, it's not just an instrument, it's the whole complex situation from the top to the blunt end where people operate. And that means that people have to be synchronized, have to be synergizing in order to have resilience programs that can really cope with risk, and people know how to do in order to mitigate, ameliorate, and control the risk.
Thank you very much, Jose, for that ending. Surya, last for the list.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, the panelists. Thank you very much, the organizers and also the participants. So it has been a very good event so far, and we hope to hear from you a lot for the rest of the day and tomorrow. And feel free to contact us at any time, and we are at your service at your convenience. So please feel free to contact us for any more information that you would like to know about Yokogawa and RAP control of work system. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Special thanks to Mark.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Mark, thank you very much
invitation.
for initiating the session today and having to open up into so many useful information, which I have made reference to them throughout the session, I believe, as well as our colleagues in here. And we thank also the organizers. Hopefully in the coming 2 days or a day and a half now, we'll have more of an insight to what is HSE and the environment and how this is now evolving or transforming in different areas. With that, I will say thank you again, and all the best with our rest of the speakers. We're looking forward to actually hear from them. Thank you all, and have a nice break until the next session.
You as well. Thank you, Mark. Wonderful
Thank you very
presentation
much.
as well. Thank you for the organizers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Masalam.
Thank you.